We've got progress, folks. Check this out. I'm Tanya from Lovely Greens, and this is the third video in my series on growing tomatoes from seed. So in the very first video, I showed you the varieties that I'm growing this year, how to make a very simple seedling compost using multi-purpose and perlite. We sowed seeds, we talked about watering, and I gave you an introduction to my heated propagator, which is new this year. Now, it's 3.5 weeks since I sowed these from seed, and look at how big they are already. They've really come on. And I have a very simple setup as far as their growing area. The heated propagator I only had turned on until they actually germinated. They just needed that extra bottom heat to encourage them to awaken from their seeds and start growing. As soon as that happened, I turned it off, although I've left the plants growing inside the propagator just to kind of contain any moisture so it doesn't go on the windowsill. Now I'm growing my tomatoes in the windowsill, and many hobby gardeners will be doing the exact same thing. Might not have a greenhouse, or especially a heated greenhouse this time of the year, or polytunnel, and it is a warmer environment. There is some light coming in there. However, the light from a window is one directional. So it's important this time of the year, if you're propagating seeds, that you have another source of light. And so I'm using a really fantastic clip-on light, and it's red and blue light focused. And I think that it has actually really encouraged these seedlings to grow even quicker than normal. And these are actually quite small. These are the Alyssa Craigs. These ones here, look at the size difference with these guys. These ones are the Costoluto Fiorentinos. Now, in this video, what I'm going to show you is how I prick out the tomato seedlings and plant them on. And I've grown them in two different ways. So there was the tray, the recycled tray that we sowed. And then I've also just sown a few plants in pots as well. And one of these plants is actually going to continue growing in the pot, and the other two not. You might be wondering, why am I sitting at my kitchen table doing this? And that's because it is so early in the year that these seedlings are really tender. My greenhouse is an unheated greenhouse. It's not warm out there at all, and these guys would suffer. They're tropical plants, tomatoes, and so I'm keeping them inside, so on the windowsill in a controlled temperature, controlled humidity, with that extra light above them. And I will be doing all of my work with the tomatoes inside the house until April. And April is when I will plant them outside after hardening them off. This is the main way that people grow tomato seedlings. So either broadcast over an entire tray like this, or even just in rows within a tray like this. But a lot of tomato growers will be growing their tomatoes outdoors, and they'll be in warmer climates where there isn't any fear of blight or late frosts or anything like that. And they're going to have tomatoes growing up trellises and just making me jealous. I've said this before, I get jealous every year of everyone's tomatoes, especially across the pond. But in that case, you can grow a lot more plants, and so growing them like this makes more sense. You'll get a lot more plants to go out in the garden. Once you get to this stage though, it's like, what do you do next? They obviously cannot grow in this tray any longer. There's no more space, and their roots can get congested. You can actually see down at the bottom, I'll just very gently upend this. Let's see if you can see it. The roots are starting to get to the bottom of this tray. It's actually quite handy having a clear tray so you can see this all happening. So what we need to do with this is prick all of these tomato seedlings out and plant them up individually. And then that way their roots can fully develop, and that when you plant them out eventually, they're not going to be competing for space with their sisters and brothers. So earlier on, I actually put my peat pots into a tray of water, and I filled them up with just multi-purpose compost, and they've been sitting in this water for about, I would say, 30 minutes now, and you can see the difference between a dry pot and a wet pot. And it's a good idea to do this, to pre-soak them, so that when you do eventually put your plants in, that the little bit of water that you put in, it might actually be absorbed by the paper rather than going to the roots. So this ensures a nice moist environment for you to put your seedlings into. When you're pricking out seedlings, you can be super fancy and get a little wooden dipper, and they look lovely, but you know what? Pencil does the same trick. And you use the pointy end of the pencil, and what you're trying to do with the seedlings here is to gently pry them up. And you grab a set of one of the leaves, and preferably actually not one of the true leaves, but one of the seed leaves, which is going to fall off anyway. So if you accidentally tear it, it's not going to be a big deal. And then you gently pull it up and you plant it into a hole that you make in your new pot. So let's get started with this. I'm going to start here at the corner, and there's two plants that are growing really closely together. Actually, there's three because there's one coming out here. So I'm just going to lift them up with the end of the pencil, and let's take this one. They might actually come up together. Oh no, that's good. So I've got one plant ready to go, holding it by a seed leaf, and then I'm going to use the end of my pencil to just guide it down and into this hole. A lot of seedlings and plants, you have to maintain the same planting depth that the plant came in originally. Tomatoes are one of the exceptions. You can plant them all the way up to the top of the seed leaves, and all along that stem, they'll grow roots. And actually later on, so in April when these guys go outside, I'll be planting them deeper again as well. And this really encourages really good root extensions, so basically anchoring it into the soil and creating even more roots for the plants to be able to take up nutrients and water. So I've got these all planted up. I've got quite a few seedlings left, but I also have two pots. And all of these ones in peat pots I'm going to be giving away, but for myself, I'm going to grow on a couple of plants in these pots. And I'm growing two just in case something happens to the other one. Look at that really nice root system there. And then I'm just going to plant it in this pot. So these ones that I've chosen for myself, they've got really strong growth and thick stems. So hopefully this is going to be the plant that gives me those big, beautiful tomatoes that I can cook with and make sauces with. And this year I also want to make some tomato ketchup as well. And I think these guys will be the tomato for the job. There's a couple of ways that you could go about this. Now, I've only sown seeds into one pot. So this is red pear, for example. What I could have done is actually sown a couple of seeds in this pot and have a second pot as well, and then pinch out all of the seedlings, except for one, the strongest one, when the time comes. Alternatively, you can also gently pry up these seedlings and then repot them on as well, and that's what I'm going to do. I have a soft heart towards seedlings. It's taken me a long time to be able to be a little bit more brutal with thinning them out. But with something like this, it's very easy just to pull them up, replace maybe some of the compost, maybe with some of that seedling compost over there, and to grow them on. So I'll have, for example, 2 plants out of this, and then the third plant I will take to the seed swap and give away. So I'm going to begin with Elisa Craig, and there's 3 quite strong seedlings in here. And there's one that's right there at the center, and I'm going to leave that one in this pot, and it's going to continue growing. The other two that are along the side there, I'm going to take out and replant. One of them I'll keep an eye on them over the next week, and then the one that I don't want, I'll give away. And again, just like previously, we'll use the pencil to get the plants out. The pots I'm going to be using now are these compostable, biodegradable pots that I picked up from the garden center. And they are another plastic-free option and will break down into the soil if you plant them directly in. So I've just filled it up. Going to make a hole like I did before, and then gently with the end of the pencil, put it inside and pull up the closest seedling by a seed leaf. Look at that, lovely. And with these larger pots, it's actually easier to pot them a little bit deeper. So I'm going to plant it just below, so I would say it's about 1 centimeter below the seed leaves. And I'm just going to press it down now. And then this will actually get watered and grow on alongside all the others. And I have a plant label too, so this is Lisa Craig. So easy to forget which one is which. So plant labels will save your life. And trust me, you might remember in the next few days which one is which, but in a month or longer, you will forget which varieties are which. I've done it before many times. Plant labels, label your plants always. As you can see, the windowsill is absolutely overflowing with seedlings already. It's all right. A lot of these are going to be rehomed over the weekend at the seed swap, so all these little peat pot ones are going to find new homes. These guys though, I'm going to be keeping them here in this setup until they're about 4 to 6 inches tall. And you'll see that I've got 2 grow lights here. This is my older grow light, and this one suspends from the windowsill. It's on a chain here, so I can lift it up higher as the plants get taller. And it's a stronger light than my new one, which I'll get to in a second. So I'm keeping it a little bit higher above. This one over here, this is something that I'm quite excited about. And up until now, the seedlings have just been growing under this new one. And it's perfect for the hobby gardener. I got it on Amazon. I'll leave a link down in the video description if you want to get one of these or a couple of these for yourself. But what's so great about them is that they have the red and blue light, which is really, really important for growing plants. And it clips onto the windowsill, which means that you don't have to have your own setup. So I know a lot of growers have shelving units and setups in their garage or wherever. This makes it possible to give your plants enough sunlight on the actual windowsill. So I think that's pretty great. And also, it's adjustable, so you can move these wands around to wherever you want, however tall or high above your plants that you want as well. The plants are just going to live in here for probably the next month or so, and I'll eventually only have 5 plants that are going to be going out into the greenhouse. And that's going to happen next month in April. So that's it for these guys. I'm going to water them now with a little watering can instead of the spray bottle. There's a bit more to water these days. And just let them do their thing. They won't need any additional nutrients or feed. The multi-purpose is going to be just fine for them in this very temporary growing location. And I will follow this up with some more aftercare for the tomatoes very soon, and before we know it, these are going to be out in the greenhouse. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm wondering actually how many of you are at this stage yourselves, or are you going to be doing your tomatoes a little bit later, growing them outside? Let me know as a comment down below where you are in this process. And also, if you're just joining this video, if this is the first video in the series that you're watching, go back and have a watch of parts 1 and 2, and I'll put those links in the video description as well, just so that you can see the entire process of growing the tomato from seed up to this stage. And this series will continue throughout the summer with growing the tomatoes in the greenhouse, harvesting them, and then using them to make some delicious edibles. So like that ketchup I was thinking about. Thank you so much for watching. Give this video a thumbs up if you liked it, and I will see you soon here on the Lovely Greens YouTube channel. Bye for now.